Hi, everybody. That was Lulu's Bacardi rum squeak toy. She's awfully fond of it. If I could give you a shot of the toy box down there. It's just loaded with goodies. Most of them squeakable. Let me. Have to do some emergency surgery here. Almost at the 20-minute mark. If I keep extending this loop, it will be. Yes. That's called 20 minutes. Hi, Lulu. She's giving me a baleful stare. Where's Mommy? Mommy went to the gym. I hope she's okay. Anyway, but here I am with you. And what a pleasure it is to play for you. And it's they're calling for a big snowfall, rainstorm, possible thermal inversion, something apocalyptic over New York beginning Sunday, which is January 15th, which is Don Van Vliet's birthday, also MLK Day, a red letter day. In any case, I'll be observing it. I'm posting a lot of Beef Heart related stuff, but I recently dug into my archive to find stuff I hadn't really looked at in a long time, but knew I had somewhere in this jumble of an apartment. And lo and behold, I found a notebook from the time I was working with Don. I kept one of these black artist notebooks with unlined pages, a sketchbook basically about this big. And they make great diaries, and I urged Jeff Buckley to get one when I started working with him, and he did. And a lot of the lyrics he dug up vis-a-vis Grace and other songs of ours were inscribed in that book as they occurred to him or as he was writing those songs. Always a good idea to carry one around. I must get another one. Now people use iPhone memo pads, I guess, and I know I do for other kind of ideas and things I want to jot down. But in any case, I found it in this book from the Dock at the Radar Station period. This is 1980 we're talking about. I came in there as a guitarist and manager with my ex-wife Ling. Must have been at the end of 79 going into 1980. I started keeping this book with the pages. Some of them are like diary entries, the first few, and I got bored with that. But all the business was kind of in this book. All the names of people we dealt with, agents, musicians, publicity people, label people. They're all in there, as well as a lot of Don's lyrics, which I had the privilege, I guess, of transcribing as they occurred to him. He was big on this. He was really good at ad hoc, off-the-cuff kind of mental, you could say it was like automatic writing mentally. And there are tapes of him, because he also had us carry around little tape recorders, and those exist too, but some of the best were stuff that he read to me or thought up on the fly, as it were. And I transcribed them, some really good lyrics, which I'll have to also photograph. But I did find 3 abstract paintings in the back of this book, which are really great, that he did with basically pencil and black magic marker. I posted one the other day that's titled Early Faux Thump, and it was so funny because that very day we had lunch with our good friend Danny Fields here in the village over at Dante restaurant, who just lost their placement as the number 2 bar in America, go figure, to number 22 or something. I don't know, he mix up these lists, but it's a nice place to hang. I am a teetotaler famously, so I didn't indulge, but the two, both Caroline and Danny were hitting those dirty martinis like they were going out of style, and caveat emptor. But I digress. So I came at, Danny was making a joke about faux this and faux that, but also, as it would be written, describing Vietnamese food, a pho, P-H-O. But lo and behold, in this book is this drawing, early faux, P-H-O-E, faux, F-A-U-X, French for false, thump. And he could be describing his rhythm, because he was quite the thumper when he got going. I never met more of a live wire on a good day, and I say that with utmost respect, creatively. he was on fire. He had one of the song lyrics. He gave me some good titles, also in that book, and one was called "They Can't Get It Up and I Can't Get It Down." It was a good description of like his frustration vis-a-vis his artistic creativity. So anyway, I have another one I'm going to post later tonight. I'm dribbling them out. I also found a Christmas card for probably the other greatest lunatic artist I ever worked with, and I worked with a bunch. I don't know. I guess it goes with the territory of being me. For some reason, once James Truman, who I haven't seen in a long time, but he was a friend, observed that it seemed like, he couldn't understand how to get involved with such crazy ass individuals in the music biz. But yeah, I don't know. I have a yen for characters in life. I loathe the same old in every sector, and the slowness of it, yeah, we gravitated to many of the wild men and women inhabiting the rock and roll and jazz sphere of activity. And I'm a card-carrying member myself. Let us not forget. So, what can I tell you about? Okay, I just got in straight from the Knitting Factory. New copies, I haven't seen this in a while, but of my celebrated Chinese pop album, The Edge of Heaven, which has an interesting history. It's currently available through Knitting Factory in a beautiful package. And yeah, I'll open it maybe next time because the booklet is quite great. But the story behind this album, and it's leading to a point. The point is I'm doing a show on Chinese New Year with Fei Fei Yang of some of this music, as well as a lot of our versions of Western pop classics by people like, let's see, Bob Dylan, Paul Simon, Leonard Cohen, Julie Kupferberg, all the greats. But the story behind this album was I was married for about 5 years to a lovely woman from Singapore, Ling Lucas. And if you want the full alliterative version, it was Ling Lucas, Ling. How she got that name? Well, apparently that's the sound that jade makes when it's rattled. That's what we were told. She told me. Anyway, she was also known as Phyllis Key, but that's another story. But her maiden name was Ling Key, or T Ling. Anyway, Ling turned me on to this music when we first started cohabiting in Taipei. Another long story. But here we're talking about 1970, end of 75, and then through 76, pretty much the whole year. At which point we came to San Francisco, another long story, and got married there. And then moved to New York. But Ling had a tape in her possession of the most beautiful music. Basically music from Shanghai in the interzone between the First and Second World War, and the Korean War. In this period, some of it goes back to the late 30s, so beginning of World War II, up till about 50, 51, after the communists took over mainland China. A lot of the artists, the so-called seven great singing stars, as the best singers were known out of Shanghai, a lot of them stayed put and were canceled, basically, but some went to Japan, and some went to Taiwan and continued to work. So I fell in love with the music on this tape. It's quite an enchanting fusion of Eastern and Western music, sung in Mandarin Chinese, and beautiful, indelibly beautiful songs and enchanting voices. My favorite two of these seven great singing stars are Zhou Xuan and Bai Guang, who also made film musicals in Shanghai. Anyway, she had this tape that we listened to, and it was a treasure. I'd never heard anything like it. I'd later turn Don Van Vliet, Cats and Beefheart, onto it. He loved it right off the bat. And we had some friends in town here when we moved in 77 to New York City who were also aware of this music, and then some people we exposed to it, and they loved it. Anyway, I was urged to do arrangements of 3 of the songs by my friend Kenny Hurwitz, who was marrying his sweetheart, Mi-Ling Tsui, in 1995 or 96, I think it was. They had a big banquet in Chinatown here, so I prepared 3 songs for them in my style, just as instrumentals, and they were a big hit. So I started doing them in my live show in Europe, at concerts, and then I put a couple of them on my Evangeline album, which came out. It was a solo acoustic album circa '96, and they were very, very well received by critics and also live in concerts. So I met a guy who commissioned a full album of this with, some tracks using Gods and Monsters. And I did this. I got, I don't know, a small amount of money to fund it, the recording. And when I turned it in, he said, oh, well, I don't know, we're just going to do dance music. And his father thought it had been a good idea. He was an Asian guy, by the way, Chinese guy. So, well, I was just sitting around like, darn it, I really wanted this to come out, oh well. So I started working in Paris, particularly in France in general, but in Paris in the late 90s. And I was scouted by a label there called Label Bleu, who had French government money. I've talked about them before. It's basically a world music and jazz label, a lot of African music primarily, but also some other styles and other artists. And they had world music festivals taking place near their headquarters in Amiens, France. And the Spiegel tent, if you know about that, or remember that. Anyway, so I was contacted by a guy who saw me play at the Hotel du Nord, thanks to my friend Carol Beer, who I just saw actually in Winfield House when I did this private concert right before Christmas for Ambassador Philip Rieker, my old friend, and Danny Fields was there too, a lot of nice people. Anyway, Carol came in, he was in London. He put me on at the Hotel du Nord, solo acoustic, and I was seen by this people from that label who later contacted me a few months later and suggested a meeting. They proposed to meet in Paris. I had some shows in Holland, and then I scooted to Paris, was pretty close by, and met with them, and they said, we'd love you to be signed to this label. You'd be our first American artist here. And do you have anything for us? I said, well, I happen to have this album, this Chinese pop album. And they said, well, oh, we'd love to hear that. So I went back to the guy who had broken off relations with and bought the masters back for not a lot of money. And then these guys put up $15K. I mean, that was a significant amount of money. Still is for an indie label. I mean, it's not, you won't see those kind of advances. You get see any advances at all these days, pretty much. And anyway, that album did great. It came out on 9/11. Unfortunately, I was in Paris working to promote it, and then that happened. But I soldiered on and stayed over and did concerts, and over the years it sold very well. And then their license expired, and I placed it with Knitting Factory Records. I'm so glad they picked it up. So here it is. It's available, folks. The Edge of Heaven. I've got volumes 2 and 3 in the works, which I'm now working on getting released, which is very exciting. But come and see us at Joe's Pub, Feifei Yang and I. She's great. I've worked with her now for about 4 or 5 years. She's from mainland China, and she can sing it all, and she looks fabulous on top of it, and a very nice person. And okay, we're out of time. I gotta get a new AV box, that's for sure. That's what was making all that racket at the beginning. Okay, well, I think I know where to obtain one. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you on Saturday. And don't take any wooden nickels. Love you guys.